Well, Schteve is back, and it's time to rock and roll. Hello everyone, this is Champion damn it, I can't see a thing in this.
Hi everybody, it's Tuesday here at the Breakfast Club. I'm Steve, how's it going?
Oh, rest in peace, dear Breakfast Club. If it weren't for internet drama, you would still be with us today. Amen.
That's right, beer instead of coffee.
Ooh, you're a real man, aren't you, Steve?
The downward spiral begins.
I think it started a long time before this video, Steve.
I had some thoughts about a picture that a friend of mine shared on Facebook the other day. I'll show you the picture.
Oh well, Steve, please, show us this picture. What could possibly go wrong, people?
It's this picture right here. It's taken from, apparently taken from a sign on the LA Metro, and it reads, respect to our women passengers, please refrain from the following: staring, masturbating, following, unwanted touching, unwanted conversation, asking women where they're from, and then the little fine print down there says, these actions create an unsafe space and contribute to violence against women.
Oh well, Steve, as you probably know, but you're gonna downplay and probably just conveniently forget, women are not the only victims of this type of behaviour. Men are also victims, but you're just gonna downplay it and conveniently forget this. And it's kind of funny that the small print just completely escalates the situation. I mean, how does all this behaviour end up contributing to violence against women? That's insane. That's like saying, oh, all these little microaggressions, which actually is what they are. Most of them are microaggressions that you social justice warriors have created. Most of them are just pet peeves. Some of them are just silly things that people do on the bus. They're horrible, but they don't just affect women, and they do not contribute to violence. Most of them. Asking a person where they're from on a metro is not contributing to violence. If you want to know what contributes to violence, why don't you just go and ask the people in Syria? If we're asking what city they used to come from is contributing to their violence, Steve. But oh well, let's continue. Let's see what you have to say about all this.
If you are unable to refrain from harassing other passengers, please change seats and notify the bus operator.
You know your poster is so shit that even a retard like Schteeeeeeve Shives is laughing at it. But you're right, Steve. That is a fucking joke. Why would someone who's harassing any passenger be doing that? If anything, shouldn't they be asking that for the women to do? Like, oh, I can't stop harassing this person. Oh, don't worry about it, darling. We'll sort it all out. You, man, get out. It's clearly you. You must have done something to harm this girl. But, Steve, I must be talking out my ass.
So that's the image. It was shared by my friend Neely on Facebook, and the first comment under the picture when she shared it was some dude asking, why does it say respect women passengers? Why doesn't it say respect all passengers?
I know, Steve. Why not? People get harassed on the bus all the time, both genders. Wouldn't it be a lot more helpful if we, rather than concentrate on one particular group's grievances on the bus, we can help, create solutions for everyone, which will benefit everyone more than dealing with one person's problems and then, as an afterthought, dealing with another's, because that is not how we deal with big problems in this world. If we can deal with it at the same time, issues that men have on the bus and women, it will be a lot safer, it will be a lot cleaner, it will be just a much better experience on buses across the world. But, this is Steve Shives we're talking about, and he's going to take issue with this.
And it ties in very closely with another commonly heard stupid question, which is, why do they call it feminism?
Steve, that was not a stupid question that man asked. What he asked was quite a good question, in fact. It was quite a good question. Why not all passengers? Why can't we all respect passengers? Why do we have to respect one group of passengers over another group of passengers? That doesn't make sense. That doesn't tie in with the whole gender equality bullshit that you're supposed to be for. You know, or the one that you accuse me of not being for. Isn't that weird, Schteve? How is that as dumb as what is feminism for? Because even that's not a dumb question. It's a dumb question to you, but you really should be asking that question in these days. At this time, what is feminism for? You are now the establishment. You've got people on Tumblr, you've got people in the mainstream, you've got people on the fringes, you've got feminists everywhere, you know, basically, and you're one of them, basically pushing people away from the movement because what you say is so toxic, so dividing, and so shaming and disgusting to people that they think that 80% of the Western world no longer call themselves feminists, and that includes women. People don't like how controlling and domineering you are. We don't like how you try to control us. Yet you think that what feminism is for is a bullshit, stupid question? You've got everything. You've got all the laws you could possibly imagine from the governments. You got your goals. We're now on parity with men and women together. The only difference is an earnings gap, but even that can be remedied if women worked harder, but that's besides the point. That's probably another video. But you really should be asking, what is feminism for these days? It might help you. It might help your movement, but because you don't, because you have so much hubris, you think these two questions are dumb, but they're not. They're quite profound when you think about it, Schteve.
If it's for gender equality, why do they call it feminism?
Well, yeah, you claim to be for gender equality, but your actions and the name of your very movement suggests otherwise, Schteve. That's really what they mean to say, but because they're not as intelligent as me, they kind of ask the wrong questions. What they should be asking is, if you claim to be for gender equality, how come all the actions that your group takes is just for women? Can you give us any evidence for your actions for supporting men? But of course, you can't give us evidence for that, Schteve, because you don't have any.
Why doesn't it just refer to itself as humanism?
Ooh, I can answer that, Schteve. It's because it's for female supremacy and it's a hate movement in regards to its views on men.
And the reason I say that this is a stupid question is because it ignores the obviously apparent reality that you can see just by opening your eyes and observing the behavior and the traditions and the values and the customs of the culture that you are a fucking part of.
Well, my culture likes to preach that you would do unto others as they would do to you. Treat them with respect and they'll treat you back with respect, basically. That's what my culture preaches. My culture has always preached democracy, it's preached equality, it's preached all sorts of liberal ideas. I mean, let's be honest, back in history, it's never been perfect. It's not exactly been like that. But now, I'd say it is like that. I'd say that we're no longer a society that should, in theory at least, be open to spreading some kind of inequality and oppressing people. I don't think that's happening on a culture to culture basis, mostly gender to gender basis, but then therein lies the problem. We've sorted out women's major problems on the whole in regards to their political rights and their social rights, but when it comes to men, we haven't really done anything. Men don't have any genital rights to their bodies until they're 18. They have no reproductive rights whatsoever. They're always getting shafted in the courts, and they're always getting shafted when it comes to political service and doing the terrible jobs, because feminism, as much as it likes to preach equality, it only preaches equality in high positions, not when it comes to the plebs positions. But I might be going off on a tangent there. And just as an addendum, I know what you're trying to say. You're trying to say if I open my eyes, if I take the blue pill or the red pill or whatever, it's mutually exclusive at this point, I would find that this world is oppressing women, that my country is horrible to women despite all the affirmative action things that they have compared to me, despite all the privileges that they have. It's just oppressing them for some reason. And it's not oppressing all of us by taking our rights to freedom of speech and spying on us within their own homes. Like just recently, my government has allowed the police to view everyone's personal internet history if they so desire. Don't you think that is more of a pressing concern than what's happening on buses, Schteve? I mean, you wouldn't consider the freedom of speech thing to be much of a problem because you're the ones helping taking away our right to freedom of speech. But surely you would find the idea of privacy being invaded and basically becoming a myth as disturbing, surely.
The reason why it's called feminism while advocating for gender equality is because females are the gender that are the underprivileged, underserved gender.
Alright, Steve. Since you're going to find this hard to take seriously and it won't get into your brain, I'm going to do it in a way that might help. And I'm going to use a meme. Yeah, I know people, a meme. That's not helping. But this is a great list. This is a great list of all the female privileges that they have. Apparently women are, just underprivileged. They're an underclass. They are abused. So let's put that to the test. And I'm going to just read off all these privileges. Lower chance of being a murder victim. Lower chance of committing suicide. Lower chance of physical assault. Longer average lifespan. Less work-related injuries. Less work-related deaths. Shorter, easier criminal convictions. Circumcision is illegal. Draft immunity. Divorce family court bias. More scholarships available. Higher college acceptance rate. Less likely to drop out of college. Emotional encouragement. Hypergamy. Cheaper healthcare. Better healthcare. Control of over 60% of US wealth. Now, in terms of healthcare in Britain, we all have the same NHS, but no, well, let's continue. Reproductive rights. Women's shelters. There's only one in Canada, and there's only one in the UK that I can think of called Respect that had their funding cut recently. White House Women and Girls Council. Police deference during domestic disputes. Better employed for same experience. Gynocentrism. Assumed primary parental figure. Positive sexual encouragement, less mental health referrals, safer work conditions, less productivity pressure, more better contraceptive options, not assumed to be a paedophile around kids, not avoided by strangers of the other gender, better education, less likely to be homeless, less likely to be unemployed, less likely to abuse drugs, more likely to be helped treated as a victim, less often admonished by teachers, given extra attention in class, less likely to be depressed, less likely to have a mental illness, less likely to abuse alcohol, the sisterhood, less pressure for financial achievement, feelings given more inherent value, safer workplace conditions, expected to choose easier career, priority during emergency rescue, punished less for changing your mind, less likely to transition gender identity, less enforcement of heterosexuality, less likely to experience dysmorphia, general immunity to sexism allegations, less likely to live in poverty, less likely to emigrate for work, less likely to be killed in war, contrary to Hillary Clinton, of course, exclusive school groups and clubs, having it all, women's studies departments, more likely to have a teacher of your gender, not commonly considered privileged, feminism. Can you think of any more, Schteve? Oh no, you can't, can you? Because that's everything. That is everything I could possibly give you. Now, explain to me again how women are oppressed.
You attain gender equality by advocating for the rights of the underprivileged gender. Do you see how this works?
No, Schteve, no you do not. That does not solve gender inequality, because that's only solving one person's problems. Can you not see this logical deficiency in what you just said? Oh no, you can't. You're a bit of a retard. I should have known better.
It's the same reason why we call it the gay rights movement. It's not because we think gay people deserve to be better than straight people. It's because gay people are in the inferior position and we want to raise them up to equality. That's how you attain equality.
Until very recently, the only right that the LGBT people didn't have was the right to have their own partners, the right to be gay, lesbian, etc. legally, and basically the right to marriage. Apart from that, they had everything else. Women have also had that at roughly the same time. In fact, they've been able to marry whoever they wanted. They were straight, of course. So your comparison doesn't quite work there because there's nuances. And again, LGBT only fight for LGBT issues. They do not claim to fight for other people's issues. They are a movement that is very much for what they are fighting for. They're not like feminism, who tries to gobble up all these disparate movements, racial civil rights, LGBT. Feminism claims to be for the equality of both sexes, yet only wants to raise one higher than the other.
The reason why the sign on the bus, on the metro, says "Don't masturbate to female passengers" is because female passengers are the ones who are made to feel unsafe by that behavior.
Look at that clip, Schteve. Look at it. Look at it. And you're telling me that it's only men who do it and that only women are freaked out and disgusted by that behaviour? We're all disgusted by that behaviour. Any sane person who sees another person, irrespective of gender, masturbating on the bus in public, which is illegal for everyone, would be disgusted by that. Yet you seem to just completely ignore the fact that women can do this behaviour too, in order to basically, again, serve up this bullshit agenda that can only see men as the perpetrators and women as the victims. And that, therein, completely destroys your argument. Just showing that. But what are you going to say? It was the patriarchy that made her do it? Not that she may have mental issues? Or is just disregarding the law? What are you going to say, Schteve? Oh no, wait. You blocked me.
Now, I'm not saying that a female passenger on a metro has never just openly started masturbating to a man.
But you are trying to make it look like that women do it less than men, which is not the case. You have no citations to prove your arguments, Schteve.
I don't want to say for sure that that's never happened, but I would guess that the ratio is pretty lopsided.
I can dismiss that, Schteve, because you've just asserted without evidence. How do you know it's lopsided? How do you know there are more men doing it than women? How do you know? How do you know? The only thing we have going for us is from that list. Women are less likely to suffer mental illness. But that's even saying that most of the people who do this are mentally ill. What if they are just exhibitionists? How do you know? You can't prove that, Schteve. No more than I can prove that it's probably 50-50. What can be asserted without evidence can be dismissed without evidence. You just got hitch slapped.
It's mostly men doing that to mostly women. That is the nature of the problem that the sign is meant to address. That's why it fucking says respect our women passengers, not respect all passengers.
Schteve, the only reason why it says respect our women's passengers is because of feminism creating the myth that it's women who are the victims and men who are the perpetrators. You have no evidence that it is lopsided, that it is mainly men doing these things to mainly women. You do not know if it is 50-50 or if men are doing it to other men and women are doing it to other women. You have absolutely no evidence for that. It's nothing but an assertion. And look what's happened. Feminists assert things and now it's law. And now it's an advertisement on a metro link. Schteve, you're supposed to be an atheist, rationalist thinker who's supposed to view things based on evidence. But oh wait, no you don't. Because every time we call for that shit from you, you just say, oh stop calling for pedantic evidence. That's your words, not mine, even if they were heavily paraphrased. That's exactly what you said. And calls for pedantic evidence, blah 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 blah. Oh for fuck's sake, Schteve. Seriously. This does not prove anything. Your opinion and your feelings do not prove how big this problem is and how many people are doing it.
All right? Have you got it? It's not an accusation that you personally are a rapist.
Well, I have been accused of being an apologist a fair few times. Oh well, Schteve, what are you going to call me then, hey?
So drop this hypersensitive defensiveness and either grow up and learn to accept the fact that we live in a society where there is gender inequality and where it disadvantages women.
First, stop projecting for one moment, Steve, because the only insensitive person here is you. You're the one who's getting really salty about all this. You're getting all worked up. You need to calm down. And secondly, yes, there certainly is gender inequality, I may add. But it's not what you think it is. It's men who aren't equal.
And that is a problem that needs to be addressed, or toddle off to the men's rights movement subreddits and bitch and moan with the other guys who are upset at the unfair divorce settlement, or because they never get to see their kids, or because the girl they like won't go out with them. There's a place for you. It's called the men's rights movement.
And apparently it's me who's a sexist, someone who advocates for both women and men as an egalitarian. I'm the one who's pushing gender stereotypes and gender roles. I'm the one who is basically oppressing people. I'm not the one who is dismissing a group's legitimate concerns for some other group's just bullshit reasons. I'm not the one attacking men for the way they sit. I'm not the one basically saying all problems are men's fault and we have to help women even though women don't really need our help anymore. Steve, please. You just came across as a bigoted arsehole towards your own gender. But you know, I expect this from you. You know nothing other than what your political bias tells you.
It's a little bubble of misogyny on the internet that you can go and be with your own, and when you ask them a question like, why does it say respect our women passengers instead of respect all passengers, oh, you will have such a warm, welcoming response. They will not mistreat you and abuse you verbally the way I have just done. They will love you and support you for everything that you are, a deeply oppressed holder of a penis.
And this is why people don't call themselves feminists anymore, Steve. Because of people like you, mocking them, attacking them, insulting them, for having a different opinion, for not being progressive enough, for not liking women enough, for not being the good old-fashioned man who will put his coat on a puddle and let the woman walk across, for someone who airs grievances for men, someone who says, look at all these problems are happening. Oh no, men don't have any problems. Women have problems. What kind of problems? Mansplaining, they're not problems. You are the reason why people like Logic, who were once sympathetic to you, are now more sympathetic to MRAs. Because you dismiss people's actual problems in favour of people who do not have as much problems. You are a hypocrite, Steve. You claim to be for gender equality, yet you dismiss men's problems. You just call us misogynists for pointing out that men do have legitimate issues. You have said so in your videos, Steve, that the MRAs have a point when it comes to the marriage and when it comes to basic rights in the courts. Yet now you're dismissing it. You're a hypocrite, Steve.
Whose life has been ruined by these mean, nasty women.
Steve, just ask Felthop returns and then mock him for saying that his life was almost ruined by a vindictive, psychopathic woman that he met. Go on, mock him, I dare you. You wouldn't dare do it to his face, would you? Because you know that his story is legit.
So I would suggest, if you can't hold up in the real world where these problems really exist and where people feel the need to try and address them in real ways, put in your application for membership in the vaunted He-Man Women Haters Club.
There's just so much projection in that statement, Steve. It's you who cannot wake up to reality, but oh well, who am I to judge? At this rate, it's just ad hominems from you, Steve. You're not actually arguing your point, you're just insulting someone. That's all you're doing. That is literally all you're doing. This is no longer an argument. This is just a salty rant from someone who just is trying really, really hard to not look sexist, but is actually looking sexist. Isn't that ironic, Steve?
And just be happier over there. That's my suggestion to you. If you look at a sign like that, or if you look at the term feminism and you just can't understand why it refers specifically to women.
See, you're trying to argue that women's rights is important, which it is important. All rights are important. But you have just made the greatest argument not to be a feminist of all time, Schteve. Just saying, you have literally made it even more toxic and nasty to be a part of than you could possibly imagine by that horrible diatribe you just did. You sound hateful, you sound salty, you're projecting, you're trying too hard, and please, just, at this point, what is there to argue now? It's just ad homs.
Go there. Go there. They want you. They will accept you. Personally, I have no use for you.
There you have it, people. If you're a man who's being abused by his wife, if you're a man who has an alcohol problem, if you're a man who is literally about to go bankrupt to help basically fund his child support, and he's feeling the strain and he's feeling suicidal, hell, he's just feeling suicide in general, don't go to Schteve. He won't help you. He doesn't think your problems exist. I mean, that's what he's implying.
Anyway, that's it for me. On that happy note, Serious Mind, you're up next, buddy.
Huh. And as if nothing ever happened, as if he wasn't bigoted or hateful, self-hateful as well, if that's even the word, self-hateful. It's gone. It's just nothing. It never happened. He wasn't a bigot. He was just doing his bit for gender equality. So anyway, people don't listen to guys like him. Listen to people like Christina Hoff Sommers or Camille Paglia or Erin Pizzi, and just keep it real, I guess. Just remember that everyone has problems that need to be dealt with, and that gendering an issue never really works, because as we've seen from a lot of problems, it's a human thing, not a man or woman thing. So this has been Charming Man 93. Like and share the video, subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you all later.